Star Wars personnel are being laid off. Disney actors are under fire, and Willow is getting a sequel. Today on Midnight's Edge in the morning.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it is, where you is. My name is Tom Connors. I am your co-host for Midnight's Edge in the morning. With me is Andre the Boss Man. How you doing?
Greetings. Good morning, Tom. How are you?
Doing the best I can. It's your fault now that I know what day of the week it is.
I'm dreadfully sorry.
Used to be like, with all this going on, today would be like another Blur's day for me, but now with this morning show, I have to know what day it is every day.
See, I give you some of that Germanic stringency in your life.
You made me die a little inside. And we also have a very special guest with us, YouTuber and, well-known sexiest man on YouTube for that matter, Drunk3PO himself. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing okay. It's afternoon here, so it's time for my hamburger.
Well, I'm feeling lunch coming on too, but of course, we're going to sit here and talk for a little bit before that. Tell us a little bit about yourself for those who may not be aware of it. You're also a member of Geeks and Gamers, correct?
Been part of Geeks and Gamers for a year now. I run their theme park channel, and Drunk3PO is my personal Star Wars channel, but there's not much Star Wars to really talk about much anymore. So yeah. And let's see, school teacher. When I leave class, I go to the theme parks, make some videos, come back home, eat some pizza, and I'm all set to go. So that's it's pretty much my day. Pretty easy day. No complaints.
Well, you're also
basically it, so
you're also doing another project though that's a little bit different for not everybody in our community. It's actually a few people have done it, but I'm sure for yourself it's a bit different, perhaps if you've never done it before anyway, at least to my knowledge, and that is you're working on a book.
Yes, you're jumping right in it, aren't we? I'll just kind of go quickly over it, but look at everybody in the chat. Thank you for my fans that showed up. Appreciate you showing up this afternoon. But yeah, the idea of this book was 3 years ago. I was a fifth grade teacher in the classroom now because of, the thing that's going on. I now teach online, but there was one of the students, we were writing papers, and one of the students wrote a paper about how she felt like the world would be better off without her. And she was coming from the point of not wanting to harm herself, but more along the lines of, I don't have any value in this world, and things are so tough at home, as far as like money. It's hard for us to get shoes, hard for us to get food on the table, from very poor where she was, and she just felt like my mom wouldn't have any more problems if I wasn't around, if I went somewhere else, or if I got this. And so it made me really ask the questions, especially for this younger generation and for the older ones, because I was also the basketball coach, asking about their value. And many of these young people today, they just feel like they don't really have any value. Like, I have no value, and they put their value in so many wrong things, such as Instagram likes, Snapchat, views, things like that. So they put their value in that. So if they don't have a lot, then they feel like they have no value. And so the idea of this book came along, where it's about a group of students who live in a town. It kind of has a Pleasantville feel, like the movie Pleasantville, where everything's just black and white, everything's gray. So they live in a town where everything's it doesn't have any colors, and each student stumbles upon a different color, and they have a relationship with this color. This color speaks encouragement and life, and saying you do have value, you have a purpose, you have this, and it takes them on a little adventure. This particular color, and I don't want to give it all away, but yeah, that's and so hopefully it's for younger people would read it and understand that they do have purpose, they do have a value, they can do something incredible. There's something laid out for them that they need to do. The world needs their gift. I always tell everybody that. Like, some people are good at listening, some people are good at drawing, some people are good at music, some people are good at sports, some people are good at agriculture, some people are good at this, some people are good at that. And the world needs their gifts, so they need to step into their gifting. So the book 1, it's coming out. It's blue. Anna, the Star Wars girl, is doing the cover art for it, and right now we're just collecting emails.
Cool.
And hope. Yeah, and so if you sign up for the email list, which you'll get one email basically saying, hey, I'm interested in that, and you buy a book while you're on the email list, you'll get a free cover art, concept art signed by Anna. So
cool.
Yeah, that's it. There
awesome.
How do I sound now? I remember
well, you were just a tad loud, so I don't know if you want to just turn your gain down. I
turned it down. Does it?
You're good now. To me, I guess they were just saying you were a little loud in the audience, but
yeah, no.
This is cool because this is something that Andre and I have talked about before. Like, this is like the thing that a lot of us got to start doing instead of just sitting here and talking about this stuff. We got to get out there and do it, and that's an admirable thing to see you taking that next step. So I can't wait to see what you come up with and how it turns out.
It's a 7-part series. Like, it's a big deal. Like, and I'm just like, I got to the point where I'm like, I did read. Someone said read the book The Giver. I did read that. Listen, a lot of this, you borrow things from other things that inspire you. Movies do that. Writers do it all the time. So it's not a deep read. But I hope they find it interesting. But I realized, I heard somebody say something one time that really impacted me, where they were like, some of the greatest ideas, some of the greatest books, some of the greatest inventions, some of the greatest discoveries, some of the greatest adventures are found in a graveyard. And he's like, don't let something you want to do be found in a graveyard. Basically saying, like, if you feel like you want to do something, just do it. So I'm just jumping in, man. Just jumping in the deep end, and whatever happens. If my mom buys a copy, I'm okay with it. You know what I'm saying?
I would hope
I'm
she
okay
would.
with it. Yeah, I'm okay if that's it. But my plan is this. Because I have lots of friends. When I was living in Haiti, and not to go around the, when I was living in Haiti and doing like some work down there, they would always send me back into the States, and I would travel to different high schools and different things up the East Coast, and just speak about what life was like living in another country, and they had me do all these things, and so I still have all those contacts. So eventually, when the book is the first one is finished, depending on how the world is, I plan on doing that run again, and just speaking just trying to speak into some schools, children's hospitals, boys and girls clubs, a lot of places where there's kind of poverty, and letting young people know that they do have value, they have importance, and giving the books away. So like that'd be the ultimate goal. So
cool.
And all that's going to be set up. It's being set up now. So we'll see.
Awesome.
We'll see. Well, that's the plan. That's the goal anyway. I just write them out, and I'm like, that would be the dream, so, and you work towards it. And if you hit the mark, great. If not, at least you can say, you did, man, you try. No one can look back at me and say you didn't try. That's
exactly.
The thing. That's all I'm saying.
But one thing you do, as we brought up before, is you run park hopping for the Geeks and Gamers network, I guess you'd call it. And one of the main things that's been in the news lately is a lot of the layoffs that are hitting Disney. So I think we should just hit the news. What do you say, Andre, unless there's anything you wanted to get into before we do?
Yeah, no, let's begin with that. Because as you mentioned, you are a frequent visitor in the Disney parks. And there are some employees who will no longer be as frequently visiting, is there? So take us through the story.
Okay, so because of the the flu. I don't know what YouTube allows to say, but the theme parks were shut down. And here where I live in Orlando, Florida. And so that is like the hub in America for like the major theme parks. We have Walt Disney World, which has 4 theme parks, Universal Studios, SeaWorld, Busch Gardens, Legoland, and the list goes on and on. It trickles down to smaller parks. Now we opened here in Florida. Our governor opened all the theme parks around May, June 1st, I think. So they opened them around May, and there was guidelines and all this stuff, but they opened them up because they wanted to get people back to work. He wanted to get people back to work. So he's like, we got to open them as fast as possible and so on. Now, California is like a whole nother nightmare. The governor over there has given guidelines for Disneyland and the theme parks to open, and they're so strict that the president of Disney himself came out and said, we can't open. We can't open like this. Like, we can't even open with what you're giving us. Like, it's impossible. It's literally impossible. And because of that, not some people, but 30,000 plus people are they've lost their jobs already that were employed through the theme parks. And the number is rising. The number is rising quickly, because not only that, like they've destroyed in California, they've destroyed the local hotels and restaurant businesses that rely on people going to the theme parks, and all those people are getting up and leaving. It's horrible to see what's happening over there. And so now you have a tug of war between Bob Iger and what's his name, Governor Newsom, because Bob Iger was on the committee to reopen the theme parks, and they got into some kind of fight, and Bob Iger quit, and he left, and he's like, he doesn't want these things open. It's not going to happen. And Newsom's like, oh, you guys can open. You just got to follow our guidelines. Basically, it comes down to 2 things. Basically, it comes down to, let's say you have a business, Tom, Andre, and you need 100 people to show up, a minimum of 100 people to show up just to pay your staff and to pay yourself a little something, right? You just need 100 people. Normally, you can carry 20,000 people, but you need at least 100. So the way the guidelines are working there in California, basically they're saying you can only have 10. So it's kind of like saying, what's the point of even opening? I can't pay for my staff. I can't pay for stuff I need with just 10 people showing up and buying stuff.
It's kind of like that South Park episode when Cartman buys the amusement park, but it's the opposite. He only wants to let so many people in because he has to. Yeah.
It's something like that. Florida is such a different thing.
But that's the whole point. Is like, he's like, well, if you got to pay a security guard, you got to pay this person, you got to let so many people in a day, blah 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 blah, kind of thing. Yeah.
So increase. That was an awesome episode, by the way. But yeah, carry on.
It is one of my favorites. Yes.
Yeah, we're getting a question from Dagobert in the comments. What are those guidelines? Do you know anything about? Exactly what the requirements were that were so draconian?
So here is some of the guidelines that they released yesterday, where you can only operate 25% capacity. I don't know I know in Florida it's 6 feet distance. So you have to put like line spacers in if people are waiting in line. You can't do anything inside. Everything's got to be done outside. Basically, to wrap it up, they wanted some of the theme parks open that could not, but you can't operate rides, basically, which makes no sense. And then the biggest one is the absolute biggest one is that only people that live in the same county can visit the theme parks in California. So basically saying the hotel industry is destroyed, because they're not going to get any visitors from anybody to come and visit. So if you live in the same county and the theme park opens, then you can go. But if you don't live in the same county, you cannot travel there.
Yeah, that kind of essentially cuts off your outside income, which is the whole point, right?
Yeah,
like, that's where you make your money. Yeah.
The issue is, so like, I live in Orlando. I have a season pass. So if they did that in Florida, everyone that lives next to Disneyland or Disney World here in Florida, almost if they go, they always have a season pass because it's so much cheaper. You don't have to pay for parking. You get like 30% off everything. And people like me will go to the park for an hour and leave. Like, I'm not going to go there and spend money on food there when I can just drive home and do whatever I want. So basically, if you're doing that, they're not making any money. They're basically just like opening up a day park because I'm not spending any more money going in. I'm not paying for parking. I'm not buying their drinks because they're too expensive. I'm not buying tickets. I'm not buying this. I'm not buying that. So I'm just going there for a few hours and leaving. You get what I'm saying? So they need people to buy tickets. They need people to travel there to stay in their hotels. They need people, to keep all the staff employed. They need those dollars, and for people like me that live next door, I don't need to stay in a hotel.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need any of that stuff. I could just show up and then go home, and then that's it.
And now the other thing is now they just laid off 28,000 people like last week, and then you said they added a few more to that, bringing the number closer to or over 30,000 now.
It's going to be over 30. Yeah, it's climbing. That was just Disney numbers. We're not even talking.
Right. And now you were telling me now before the show, like a big major hit of this though was the Galaxy's Edge portion of the park, which is kind of what gets us into the Star Wars aspect of this a little bit. Now tell us how that's being affected by all this, or how that's a ways into this whole thing.
This is the crazy thing. So I guess the unions are running the show for the hires up in California. So what happened was when they opened Galaxy's Edge in California, there were many cast members or employees that have worked for Disney for years, 20 years, 25 years, that had seniority. But they wanted to shift over to a different union that was hiring for Galaxy's Edge. So they switched over. And when they did that, they lost their seniority. So basically, people that had been working for Disney for, that had seniority, that had been there for 20 years, switched over to work in the Galaxy's Edge. They're all getting laid off first because of the seniority rule, or however that works. And so that's why all the reports are coming out saying Galaxy's Edge is being hit the worst, because they're the newest. I guess they're the newest IP land that they opened there in the Disney parks. And so if you're there, you've lost your seniority, you've lost all your privileges, you lost everything.
Right, I suppose.
And so they get fired first. So you're seeing people that have worked their listen, whatever you feel about Disney, it is what it is. But there are people that really love working there. They just love working there. Like, they just work there their whole lives. They some of the cast members are just so in love with working there. It is what it is. I mean,
it's a career to these people.
Yeah. And so they've worked at Disney for 20, 30 years. And then they're like, oh my God, it's a new land. I'm going to be in Star Wars land and da, da, da. And I have my own opinions. I think it's a huge disappointment. And so they move over to the Star Wars land and they get fired. They get, once the furlough hit and everything. And so when the layoffs come, they were the first ones to get hit.
Right.
And while the other people that were kind of a newer hires, they're still, in furloughed. But it's really sad how all that, again, at the end of the day, however you feel about Disney's one thing. I hate seeing people lose their jobs. Especially, that's just
right.
It just sucks. You don't want to see anybody lose their job working anywhere. People are providing for themselves, their families, and other things. So,
well, I found this article this morning about this whole thing, and it actually gets into a bit deeper about how they're being called out by Elizabeth Warren, of all people, for being short-sighted in their business decisions that showered top executives with over-the-top compensation in the midst of laying off tens of thousands of cast members. Disney took care of its top executives and shareholders and is now hanging its frontline workers out to dry, Warren said. While blasting Disney for salary payout issues, the senator's letter credited the company for continuing to provide health care benefits to workers who had been furloughed due to the pandemic restrictions. Now, there was one thing I want to ask you about that whole kind of thing, because like a lot of these people were put to part-time recently. Yeah. Before they did these big layoffs. Now, do you know if those people were still allowed to have any of their benefits when they were pushed down to part-time?
No, that's the whole reason moving to part-time.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Cutting benefits. This is the crazy thing. Disney, I really hope they learn a lesson. They probably won't. But the higher-ups at Disney's, they fund people like Elizabeth Warren and Governor Newsom and these type of politicians. And yet now they're getting bit right in the butt. Because and now look what it's doing to them. These are the people that they wanted in office, and now look what it's doing to them. It's like, and again, you could sit back and say, oh, the irony or this or that or whatever, but it's like, at the end of the day, it's the little people that suffer the most. Bob Iger's going to be fine. You know, if he doesn't get a salary for 2 years, woe is him. He'll just sell off one of his $70 million homes. He'll be fine. You know, all these people are going to be fine. And so it's the cast member, man. It's you know, it's the guy that they hire at 70 years old who needs a little extra income to get him through the rest of his days, that Disney they do hire them, you know, and that are getting cut. And it's that sucks, you know.
I really want to hear Andre chime in on this, because here's one thing that we all know, and it's kind of like, you know, the common thing we keep bringing up is the reason Disney was such a powerhouse before this whole situation is because of these parks. They were one of the few studios to have this constant flow of income to fund things like buying Star Wars and buying Fox and, you know, pumping out 30 freaking tentpole movies a year. It all predicated on the fact that they had this steady, constant influx of money from these parks, not just one, but many. And from a business standpoint, Andre, how do you see this kind of affecting them going forward, or how do you feel like this chastisation? Because Warren wasn't the only one to take them to task. There's been several people across the board on both sides of the aisle now that have been going down Disney's throat. In fact, we were just working on recently, I know with Rob, a kind of sequel to the AMC video where we know there's a lot of ties with Disney and China. Like, where do you see this kind of moving forward? What is the situation here overall, business-wise?
You know how the dinosaurs dominated the planet for, 200 million years or something ridiculous? And then came an asteroid and caused a drastic change in their environment, and then they all died out because their strengths turned into liabilities. Well, that's kind of what's happened here. Disney's massive strength has turned into a liability overnight. They were, for a pure entertainment company, of course, you have many more powerful corporations like the IT corporations and stuff like that, but and the telecom corporations. But for the pure entertainment corporations, Disney was the one to beat, and they were like the only ones that were in the competition to them was Comcast, because they not only have like the telecom going for them. With Universal, you have Universal Studios. But Disney was a pure entertainment company, and the parks, as you say, they were like a monthly savings agreement, pumping ever more money into the corporation every single month, wiping away any mistake that they did, allowing them to do crazy things that no one else could think of, like acquiring Fox. But then there was a change in the environment, and their liability became, their strength became a liability, because the parks and their cruises and their hotels and really everything requires or assumes that you have loads of people together in a small space, or a reasonably small space. And now when you can't do that, now they have a big problem, because they have the parks and they are expensive. You need so and so many visitors every single day just to break even. And when that can't happen, and of course you can have a debate on if it's right that it shouldn't happen, if the lockdowns are too extreme. That is something that absolutely can be debated. But the end result is that they have to make closures. And on top of that, it's really tone deaf of them to reinstate executive payments and pay dividends to the shareholders and all those things. That's really bad business decisions right now in this climate. But at the end of the day, the daily expenses are the cast members. They are the ones that unfortunately have to pay the brunt of it by losing their jobs. It's not fair, but that's how it is. And the bigger worry to me is the ripple effects that is going to have on the entire local economies. Like, for instance, how many people are employed by Disney in California and in Florida?
It's basically a small city.
Oh, I can tell you.
I mean.
Orlando, they estimated Orlando is almost 89% 89% of the people living in Orlando was employed by theme parks or something, if not exactly in the theme park, but like associated with a hotel next to a theme park or a business next to the theme
Well,
park.
it's basically
So,
like in most of the parks are about the size of a small city, right? Like, isn't Disney World
oh
like the
man,
size
Orlando,
of Manhattan or something like that?
they have their own. Listen, Disney is so big here in Orlando. They have their own police department, fire department. It's investigation. It's crazy how big it is. And listen, man, they have because of Disney. Walt Disney World is the most visited place here in Orlando and all over it's like been number one around the world for I don't know how many years. They have a lot of pull with the government because they employ so many people. I'm just saying it wouldn't be surprising if they move their movie production over to Florida and stuff. They're building something real. They just bought up a ton of land here just recently for something, and nobody really knows what it's for. So, I mean, and we also don't pay a lot of taxes here in Florida because of the theme parks, because of the tourism and stuff. So it's all like a, I don't know, circle.
That's kind of an
Circle of
interesting.
Florida, so.
That's an interesting point. Could we possibly see more productions move to like Georgia, Florida, Vegas, Canada, out of LA? I mean, will those on that spectrum even decide to fuck this and the grand exit even include like movie studios and stuff? Andre, do you think it could get that bad?
The big thing to me is that the people that lose their jobs right now, they don't have anywhere else to go to. When you have like such a big employer, this is going to cause like wide societal collapse in Orlando.
Well, they're all back to work. So like a lot of the layoffs that happen in Orlando, they're back. The layoffs were actually kind of not as they were bad here. Like other smaller places like Legoland and SeaWorld and stuff, they had to let go. Like numbers were like coming out 600 people, 800 people, 1,100 people, things like that, but not like 20,000 people like it is in California. Like that is. That's unbelievable, it's great.
Yeah, and this is
I didn't mean to cut you off, Andre.
And Martine actually asked the same question I was kind of asking is like, what if all these studios decide to move out of California?
And let me tell you something, our governor is pushing for it. Our governor here is pushing for it. I'm telling you. He's like, and you want to know the most here for those California people in the chat, you tell me how this makes you feel. The governor who doesn't want to open Disneyland sent his staff, and some people have said, and I can't prove this, we can prove that he sent staff because he said it live, to Walt Disney World for 7 days or 10 days here in Florida to visit the theme parks, to stay at the hotels, to go see how they're doing things, I basically gave them like a week vacation to just come here and take pictures of how the parks are run from California, even though.
Well, and I remember there was a push in like the late 80s for a while there. Like they were trying to push to get a lot of the movie industry and stuff like that over to Florida. Like there was a lot of movies filmed in Florida. There was a lot of TV shows and stuff that were set in Florida. Sorry, go ahead, Jay.
No, it's the governor. The governor's pushing for it. I mean, he's pushing it. I just find it, the irony where the governor's like, no, we can't open the theme parks. We can't open, but I'm going to send my staff to Walt Disney World, Florida, and we're going to hang out there for a week. How about that? On your taxpayer money. Hey, let's go. So I'm like, I can't believe it. It's like, I'm like this, that can't be real, but I guess it is. So,
well, I think this is going to be an interesting turn of events. I mean, was there anything that either of you two really wanted to add to this, or should we get to some of the super chats so we can move on to the next topic, which I think is one we'll all equally be, or if not more, emotional about? But yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, like the only thing that there is to add to it is that I absolutely think that we're going to see a decentralization of Hollywood. And could more production end up in Florida? If the local authorities give the right tax incentives, there's absolutely no reason why it couldn't move to Florida, especially when they already have real estate in the area. It's not going to be so much to set up for them. So I can absolutely see Florida being like a new production hub.
like a new Hollywood. Well, and yeah, and like I said, I remember that big push in the late '80s. Like there was a big deal.
Yeah. And then to catch up on the super chats before we move on to the next topic, Chris Curran sent us $2 saying, "Shout out at Drunk3PO rules."
Thank you.
And Fat Steven Seagal beat up, and I can't see exactly who, but I'm sure he beat up someone who well deserved it. And sent us $2 Canadian saying, "The forehead is causing the echo. Love you, Mead /
That's
drunk."
funny.
So,
Talking about my forehead. Yeah, but it is what it is.
And Neil, hey Neil, sent us $5 saying, "Clownfish TV made an apt about the decentralization of Hollywood due to the pandemic and the rise of animated projects being related to that." Yeah, I absolutely think we're going to see more of that. Yeah. And with that, let's move into the next topic because, yeah, people are being fired.
We did get one more here from Goddess of Whim for $2. Yeah, it's on the screen.
Goddess of Whim, 2003. Disneyland can't open, but Newsom's winery can be. Well, of course, like there's one set of rules for me and another one for thee, you pleb. That seems to be the attitude of Gavin Newsom and some others. And with that,
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people are being fired in the realm of Star Wars, but in the realm of Marvel, we have actors coming under fire. Tom, take us through the story.
Well, apparently some people just decided to freak out on Chris Pratt because he didn't decide to back a specific political party or political member. And you know how, the other side, quote unquote, acts when you don't do something they demand that you do and bend the knee to their re. They drag you over the coals and attack you. And of course, you're every istophobe there is in the book. Well, apparently just because of Chris not going out and promoting a political candidate and because of his religious background and other things like that, they've decided to peg him as a white supremacist and went after him hardcore online. Needless to say, a few of his cast members, especially Robert Downey Jr., came out in his defense. But like Ichibaka, of course, did a great job in collecting up some of the worst of the offensive tweets to the point where even when Zoe Saldana got involved in this and decided to defend him, people were actually calling her the N-word. So that's what's funny about these supposed people that are, going after the worst of humanity, but yet they're quick to use terms like that when defending their stance. I just think it was kind of ironic in a way. I don't know if irony is really the word to use there, but no, I mean, this is just more of the same we've seen come out of Gina Carano, and it was kind of ironic that you're here drunk because you kind of found yourself in the middle of all that too.
Gina Carano,
yeah, because you're like one of her favorite people.
I don't know how that happened, but I'm okay with that.
There could be worse things in the world, right?
Absolutely could be, yeah.
Yeah, the funny thing with because everyone knows, like, if you follow my Twitter account, my grammar on Twitter is absolutely horrendous. I have big fat thumbs and I can't type on this little iPhone, and it's just whatever. So she had made a post about thank a teacher if you could read something like that, and I went, oh, that's nice. I'm a teacher. And she responds, she goes, basically, she was like, I've seen your Twitter. I don't believe you. Right. It was a joke. and it just sent everyone just went crazy. And then, then she followed me on Twitter. And then I would just ask her stupid stuff.
Well, people have been trying to ship you too.
I know.
In the fandom manosphere, or whatever you want to call it.
It's just, I
find it quite adorable.
I would ask her stupid stuff like, do you like candy corn? Do you like that? And she would respond. And then because of that, there's a lot of people on Twitter that really hate me because of that. And I love the fact when people, there was a big Twitter push saying Drunk3PO's never spoken to a girl before. The fact that Gina's talking to him, probably, I don't know. They were just saying all kinds of stupid stuff like that. They're like, he's probably never had a girlfriend. He's probably never had this. And look at Gina's talking to him. Oh my gosh, he's probably got a boner
yeah,
for
the
a
sexiest
month.
man on
Like
YouTube
really
never had a
crazy
girlfriend.
stuff.
Yeah.
Like crazy stuff like that. Yeah, and it just went on, and to the point where I won't mention his name, but there's one guy that just hates me to death.
You're lying to yourself if you don't see the chemistry, says John.
There's one guy that just hates me to death. Yeah, he runs a podcast, and I just can't. I don't know why he just hate of all people.
Because she gave you attention and not him. But all that aside, similarly, Chris was, of course, attacked, not for what he said, but what he didn't say, evidently. But a lot of people didn't even seem to care that Robert Downey Jr. didn't show up to this event either. But that aside, I mean, going through all the Gina stuff that you have too, we've all covered it here, and so has everybody else pretty much. Drunk. First up, what was your take on all this Chris Pratt business as far as them coming after him?
The funny thing is if you really like go back to see what this was all about, most of the people that were in the Avengers movies and the Marvel films, they showed up to a Joe Biden fundraiser. Chris Pratt did not show up, and people were asking him, how come you weren't there? How come everybody else was there, but you weren't there? And I think like in an interview, just real quick, he was just kind of like, I just don't do politics, right? I just don't do politics. And they just took that and ran with it like no one's business. Because when you see Robert Downey Jr.'s response and Mark Ruffalo's response was the best. I knew when Mark Ruffalo was going to defend, if he defended Chris Pratt, which he did, he was going to get like eaten alive, because Mark Ruffalo is as left can be, to a new form of left on Twitter, and the fact that he defended Chris Pratt because of being a Christian and not showing up with the political thing, like his woke following just want him to die. Data Racer 117 collected amazing tweets and put them together, and he was just like,
I'm sorry, did I say Itchy Back? I meant Data Racer. That's what I meant. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. But Data Racer 117, the ones that were going after Mark Ruff, they were basically saying, I just want you to die. I can't believe you're defending.
Yeah, they were just nasty.
Christian. I want you to die.
I'm not even going to show them between the N-word and all the other stuff. I'm not going to show them, but
poor Zoe.
But a month ago she wasn't black enough to be playing that one singer or whatever. I can't remember her name, sadly, at the moment. But you know what I'm saying? Like, you remember she got attacked and apologized for that shit too. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't think that she was attacked, but I think that she.
She was back when she first did it.
Yeah. But anyway, it only goes to show you that it doesn't matter what you've done before. Just look at Mark Ruffalo. As you say, he's as left can be. But the moment that he failed the ideological purity test in this moment to condemn someone on the right side, he wasn't condemning Chris Pratt. He was defending him. Oh, shock, horror. Then that moment, nothing that he has done before mattered. It was all gone. In that moment, then they wished death upon him. That's pretty astonishing. And for the people that sympathize with that, I mean, seriously, just look to your side and look who's next to you. Like, do you really think you're on the right side of history? That's all I have to say to that.
Yeah, it's kind of funny to see Ruffalo, like, getting I don't know, getting what he deserves. I don't know if he's getting what he deserves, but you cater to this woke crowd, and you think like you're on the right side of things, but you make one little mistake, and you're finished. You're absolutely finished. And now, anytime Mark is going to tweet anything political or anything like this, people are just going to be like, "Remember when you defended your Christian friend?" I mean, it's just like they're just gonna hammer him for some time. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and there's nothing he can do to live it down, because
that's too late. Yeah,
the moment that you've fallen out, you're out. You can. There's no forgiveness. There's no coming back. There's no moving on.
What's funny
now
is
it's going to be with him forever, no matter what he does, no matter how much he donates to that candidate, or
it doesn't matter.
or rather the puppet masters behind that candidate. But that's a different discussion.
He would literally have to come out and say, "Hey, I disavow Chris." I mean, like he would literally have to throw Chris Pratt under the bus and run him over multiple times to even get a hint of forgiveness from these crazy people. And Twitter is one of the most disgusting cesspools. Twitter and YouTube comments. If you really want to feel good about your life, just start tweeting stuff and then start a YouTube channel and look at your YouTube comments. It will really, and I'm being very sarcastic, but it'll really make you feel good about your day every day. It's just like, people just
no, you're
like
100% right. And not only that, here's the funny thing about this whole thing, going back to what you guys were just saying and what a few people are saying in the chat about the whole fact of him being Christian and shit, is like that's what bothers me the most about this entire thing, is the hypocrisy behind, we're so progressive and acceptance and all this other crap unless you're a white man or you're Christian. Like, those are the two areas they will not accept you no matter the fuck what. But to me, it's like, oh, you don't see your hypocrisy right in front of your face, do you? And, and Andre's brought it up a few times, and we've talked about it too. It's just like how they want to kill, the family what do you call it? The
family dynamics.
Yeah, family dynamic
and the core nuclear family. They just want to end
That's what I was looking for.
But it's part of, but they're not really being hypocritical. They're being hypocritical or double standards compared to what you would imagine should be a good message. But they're being perfectly consistent with their own message and their own ideology, which is that they have divided the world and its populace into groups according to their level of perceived victimhood, which may or may not be real. And then they value people based on that. And Christians and white people in general, and white males in particular, simply have no value and need to be treated as such. So they're not even pretending to be equal. They do not want equality. They want oppression. And they're absolutely obvious about this. So they're being perfectly consistent with that. So it's like the people that think that they want equality for all. Yeah, then you're in for a surprise. But they don't. They don't want equality. They want the opposite. That's like the key to understand here. These people do not want equality.
Well, the thing is,
they want to turn the tables.
Yeah, but they think they have found with Twitter, they think they have found their means of getting heard or whatever, their means of like.
Well, right, and that's all we ever hear out of these all these other actors. My platform,
they found their perfect echo chamber. Found their perfect echo chamber.
And it's just bizarre that they're like, we could change the world with a hashtag. Everyone, let's change the world with a hashtag. I was like, no, you can't. Well, if you want to change the world, do what I did. I got on a plane. I went somewhere. I saw homes that needed to be built, and we started building homes. Like, that's how you did it. I didn't use no hashtag. I didn't use no Facebook group. I wasn't I wasn't criticizing people that were living in homes, saying, how dare you live in a home when there's other people that don't have homes. You just went out and did it, and that's how you change things. It makes me laugh most of the time when people are like, we're gonna change things with a Twitter hashtag, everybody, let's go. It's just like, no, you're not. Good intentions, but no, you're not. So,
well, the next time they need something, I'm sending them thoughts and prayers. So,
how dare you? How dare you make fun of the Christian religion? How dare you cancel Tom? For
the thoughts and prayers are just fine any other time, No, that's the thing that's funny as shit. It's just, that's where I bring in the hypocrisy, is like, there is a level of hypocrisy, and double standard is kind of the same thing almost to a point here. But it's like, you're 100% though right, Andre, and that's kind of partially the point I was trying to make, is like, it's just this, it's almost, I'm convinced it's almost a mental disorder at this point, and it's a mental disorder that you can catch.
Yes, explain one. And that's like the horror with Twitter and social media. It's the worst thing to happen to humanity, because those that subscribe by it, they get into an echo chamber, and it drives them nuts. Like there's a certain derangement syndrome, and it's actually a condition. Like, it's something that can be diagnosed. It's like, it's that bad, and it's something that's brought on very much so by social media, with being in an echo chamber, being fed a certain narrative and worldview over and over again, having it reinforced nonstop, with any opposing views, anyone offering, reality being shut down. It's like, it's a Truman Show. That's kind of like what Twitter is. Like, the people that live in the Twitter sphere and people in Hollywood and stuff like that, they live in a Truman Show of their own making.
Except the problem is they're not the star, and they wish they were.
Yeah, that too. And that's also something that comes with, and there you have like the dependency on likes and everything like that. That's how you get validation and all of those things. But
I'm loving the chat. I see all your hashtags. They're absolutely hilarious. You guys are hashtag headache. It's great. Good job, chat. Good job.
Indeed. We have an awesome chat. So
if I learned anything, is you can't change the world with a hashtag. You need Michael Jackson, Lionel Richie, and a song, and then you're good.
Yeah. But the problem is, though, that no, you cannot change the world. But since it's an echo chamber, and when you have like people of influence within that echo chamber, you can certainly influence the world. You can destroy our pop culture, because the people like in Hollywood, yeah, they're in a Truman Show, but they're all in the same Truman Show, and they think it extends to the rest of the world. And then you have an executive thinking, oh, okay, the people on Twitter really like this and they don't like this, so I'm going to like move the movies coming into that direction, and everyone in the world is going to love it. And that's not quite what happens, is it? But still, that way it gives influence. It gives influence over corporations that are so concerned with likes on Twitter and are deathly afraid of suddenly having Twitter come out against them and negative headlines and all of that. So that way, no, it can't change the world, but it can influence it. And that influence is, in my experience, without exception, negative.
Agreed.
Well, I mean, unless there was anything more we had to say about... because really, what is there to say other than these people are fucking insane?
Or they feel like they're doing something good. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the worst thing about them. That these people, they think that they are good, and they think that they are somehow improving the world, not realizing that they are hand in hand and doing the same thing as the worst people in history has ever done. That's who are the judgmental people, the authoritarians that would tell others what to do. And those are not people that you want to be in company with, not in real life, and certainly not in a historical setting.
It's just it's getting to the point, though, it's just getting comical. It's just like you can't say anything, and actually you can't say anything with common sense without people coming at you and saying, how dare you use common sense, Andre?
That's why it's not common sense anymore. And I give Script total credit for this, because one day I said, it's like common sense has become uncommon now, and he's like, yeah, it's like super sense. So yeah, it really is. It's like, if nobody has common sense anymore, those few people among us, like probably the roughly 1,200 people that are watching right now, have common sense. That's about it. So it's super sense.
For example, like we were talking about Disneyland being closed, and there are many of these woke Twitter people that were there was one in particular. His name is Peter. I won't say his full name, but he has his own theme park channel, and he was attacking Geeks and Gamers. He blocked me personally. He can't stand that Jeremy supports Trump and that we have a theme park channel. Oh, he was going on and on and on and on and on. And then finally, now that his woke governor and all this stuff shut down Disneyland, he's all on his Twitter now being like, I can't believe they won't open Disneyland. We just want to go to the theme park. And it's just like, well, these are the people you put into office. You know,
Well, basically, he supported authoritarians, and that's what frustrates
crazy.
me. Like, you have like so many people that obviously come from a place of wanting the best of intentions, but what they do is that they're voting in and voting for authoritarians. And then I don't mean the ones that the authoritarians claiming really are. Well, they claim themselves to be for freedom, democracy, blah blah blah. But like, know them by their actions. And California is run by pure authoritarians. And
That's crazy.
yeah, and people have to like stop voting for that, because I have very much sympathy with those that didn't vote for this and that have to suffer the consequences. But quite a few people voted for this. This is what they get. They asked for totalitarians and they got it. Then they can't be surprised by the results.
Yeah, that's the thing. They're shocked. I mean, everything's fine and dandy until it affects something that they really love. Yeah. So, and now they're like, "Oh my gosh, how could this happen? How dare they? They can't touch my Mickey Mouse. How dare they?"
Well, it kind of like when they talked about doing a new Buffy, like all those same people that were calling us a bunch of, basement dwelling man babies who should just shut up and take the Star Wars the way it is or the Star Trek the way it was. As soon as they announced that Buffy was now going to be a black woman, they freaked the fuck out. Because that was something they cared about.
And that was the same thing with the Game of Thrones finale.
Yep.
Then people cared.
Once John Boyega and Daisy Ridley have come out and talked about Star Wars the way they have, now what was once toxic is not toxic for them anymore. It's crazy. It was toxic to talk bad about The Last Jedi, because it's like, if you don't like The Last Jedi, you probably hate women. It's like, where in the heck did that argument come from? And now that all these stars are coming out saying, yeah, that sequel trilogy's had a lot of problems, then now everyone else is like, yeah, I guess they did have a little bit of problems. Yeah, I agree with you, Daisy Ridley. Yeah, I agree with you, John Boyega. It's just like, are you kidding me? Like, before I would say something and it the Twitter mob would come after it.
Yeah, that's the stunning hypocrisy, and that's something that'll give you a whiplash to watch the change of direction. And of course, then they're going to claim that, no, the Last Jedi always had problems. It was always problematic in its representation of people of color. That's just wait and see. That's going to be like the new narrative going forward, that it was always problematic, but now Hollywood has learned it won't make those mistakes again. And it's for the same movie that everyone praised as the best thing since the Second Coming, or you just know what I mean. And everyone that did not fall over in praise, they were all istaphobes.
Well, I think we should get to a few super chats before we get to our final story, which is like the worst kept secret in Hollywood.
Indeed. Indeed. Yes, super chats. We have some more to get through here. Goddess of Whim. We already addressed that one.
Yep.
Master Clockwork sent us $5. What a shock that these progressive crackpots are some of the worst racists you'll ever come across. Well, again, it's in their ideology. They want to separate people and judge them by their group, which is unbelievable in this day and age. But there you go. Joe Pat 87 sent us $4.99 saying Twitter has always been toxic, but now it may have proven it needs to go away. Rama sent us 40 Indian rupees saying, Jay, I think 4chan can change the world with a hashtag.
Maybe.
And
you gotta try though, right? You gotta try.
Yeah,
you gotta
keep on trying. Vince Manor sent us $5 saying, I look to a day when people will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
Yep.
Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah, they want to pretend they are. That's the thing that I've also noticed, is that all these wannabe fucking, whatever you want to call them, activists, They all want to pretend they're Martin Luther King. They all wish they were Christopher Columbus and they were discovering something. But sadly, it's all been discovered. It's all been done. You know, the 60s happened. The 90s happened. We've all been through this all before. We know how it pretty much ended then. You know, we got to a point where we all got to a common ground and everybody realized, yeah, it's not a good idea to fucking call each other names or be mean to each other. So let's knock it off and just keep going and doing our thing. And that's kind of the way things got. And then all of a sudden it became like, oh, you know, what's between my legs and my color of my skin is more important than anything else. Anything else. You know, and it's sad. You know, it's
Very
like
sad.
After 9/11, for the most part, it felt like we had a pretty united world. I mean, granted, there was some animosity towards certain groups at that period. I'm not going to deny that. But for the most part, you know, that's the closest we've ever come to like an alien attack. And don't tell me we're going to need that to become unified. That's just crazy. I think we've already gotten pretty good.
Here's the crazy thing. I have worked and been to these countries that are living in ways that these people want, you know? And it's just, it doesn't work. You know, it's like, it's weird that, that some of them are pushing socialism and stuff like that. And I'm like, you want to come see it? Come with me. I'll take you somewhere. Yeah. I've been there, you know, I've seen the poor over there. They want me to come. They want people like me and our organizations to come over there to help them with their poverty problem because they have no solution for it. So it's like, yeah, why don't you come check that out? You know, like it's absolutely, it's crazy. You know, listen, America has its problems. Of course, it always will. It's never going to be perfect, but it's traveling. Like I said, I lived in Haiti, been throughout the Caribbean, Central America, Africa, and all these places for like 15 years of my life. And it's just like, you come back to the States and it's like, I could still go to McDonald's and get a hamburger. Mm. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you've told me some pretty crazy stories. And of course, I'm not going to get into any of them here, but it's just like, yeah, I mean,
no, it's insanity. And that's the thing about like voting and all that stuff. And so like, this is funny. Like like I love NBA. I love basketball. Basketball's my favorite sport. I love the NBA. What happened to the NBA this year with all their political stuff is, man, it broke my heart. But let me give you an example of what these people do. So the NBA and all the NBA players were pushing, you know, vote or die and all this stuff like that. They're pushing that agenda. Okay. But then when they asked the NBA, you know, about like who registered to vote, they realized that was like, I think there was 17% of the NBA was actually registered to vote. Yet they're the ones out there pushing, you better vote or you're going to die. And yet they're not even registered to vote. Like, this is what I'm like, this is what we're dealing with here. It's absolutely, while I was in Haiti during one of the elections and people literally were sleeping in the streets in line to vote, you know, and it's just, it's crazy, you know, it's absolutely crazy.
Well, I think the bigger problem isn't even so much like celebrities and whatnot getting behind, you know, like the whole, just like, you know, rock the vote back in the day. I think the bigger problem is getting behind one specific side. I think that's really what's causing the bigger rifts, if that makes sense. Because like Star Trek's been one, they've gotten behind Biden and certain other things. And it's like almost telling your audience, like, if you don't support this specific candidate, and even if you do, it can still be a turnoff to you, because it's like, that's what I mean. I was raised to not talk about that kind of shit. Like your politics were something you kept to yourself for various reasons. And I never remember growing up ever seeing like a brand or anything like that getting behind a specific candidate. Now, movie stars, that's a little bit different, or celebrities, you know, whatever. But at the same time, these same people, they would go on and do the MTV Rock the Vote thing or something like that. And I don't specifically remember them going out there and saying, don't vote for George Bush.
Yeah, no.
You know, like, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're absolutely sorry. I was just going to add to you. You're absolutely right. They were basically saying, hey, young people, you have the right to vote. Then please take advantage of it. You know, basically, if you don't vote, don't complain. You know, and so like they realize that there's only a certain percentage of people in America that vote and that are only registered when more could be, you know. So like that was the Rock the Vote thing, was all about, getting people.
Well, yeah, because it was about the whole fact that young people, especially in that 18 to whatever it was,
they don't vote at all.
Whatever,
They don't vote.
they at that time especially they didn't. But no, I mean, and again, I'm not like out here going, oh, they need to do that thing. No, it's more like the other problem is going to Andre's side of it. We tend to forget, especially in our entertainment, that most of the world doesn't give a shit about our politics.
Yeah, no, we give more of a shit now because you're constantly polluting our entertainment.
Yeah, exactly my point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Because like people here, they don't pay too much attention to local American politics, but what we do see even here, what people who aren't politically aware or anything, even they see that Jesus, our entertainment took a massive turn to the left, like ridiculously to the left, and it ruined everything because of it. Like, there's no Star Trek fans here anymore. There's no Star Wars fans that work for, or some. But like, they don't care anymore. It has nothing to do with the political situation in America. It's because the properties all suck now, and that's because of the political situation in America. Or rather, it's not because of that. It's because of the extreme overreaction to it by people in the echo chamber in Hollywood. They have gone so completely nuts. They've been so completely deranged that they have ruined their products and therefore everyone's entertainment out of some lofty idea that they are somehow being good.
Yeah, well, they live in their own world, and they think they're changing the world, and it's
they live in their own Neverland, in their own Truman Show.
And when they lose money, they're like, "Well, that's a political party's fault."
Mm-hmm. Or it's our fault because we're istophobes.
Yeah, no, it's not, but it's not. It's their fault.
No, I know, like, but I'm saying that's the excuse they use.
I know, that's what I'm saying. That's only them being deranged. That's their derangement syndrome talking.
Absolutely, and that kind of goes into Action Com's super chat here with a $5 super chat. He says, or I'm assuming it's a he. Sorry, I didn't mean to assume your gender. What will be or think will be the Chernobyl that will cause hashtagger and change the world, or lies to fall apart?
I have a theory.
Go ahead.
November and the election. And if a certain candidate or not even candidate, but if a certain incumbent is re-elected, despite all of the united efforts of the mainstream media, of the Hollywood, of all the funders, of all of Wall Street, of all of the people in power and the establishment, those that have actually lost significantly because the world is no longer being run the way that they wanted it to. If they don't get their way and we see a re-election come November, I think that loads of people are just going to simply lose it and have to end up being committed whatsoever, because then whatever they did, everything they threw at it will have failed. And it's going to be funny to see the reaction to that.
Well, and
it'll be interesting, that's for sure.
What I think is funny, and what I think it will take really, is a few more of these tube incidents. And what I mean by that is you have a lot of these people who are grandstanding on this high what they say is a moral ground in the right side of history, but we're uncovering slowly, or they do it themselves. It's not like anybody's going out of their way to do it for them. How normal and human they really are, or in some cases even vile humans in more cases than not. And I mean, it's just one of those things where the more and more they act like there's some high and mighty force among humanity, the harder they're going to fall when they do shit like Tubin does. I mean, it's just that I don't know if there's ever going to be one huge, big cataclysmic thing per se.
No, I don't think it's going to be one thing, but I think that that's something that's going to break loads of people's minds. If a certain re-election happens, I think that many people just won't know how to deal with that, and will ultimately see that. But everyone said that this was going to happen, and all the effort, it will all have been for nothing. Like, for instance,
they'll start the blame game that it was rigged, that it was Russia, that it was this. I mean, they'll do this whole.
My favorite, it's like so funny when they like dismiss something as conspiracy theories, but they'll peddle other conspiracy theories as they were absolute fact.
Sounds familiar. Sounds very familiar. Our next super chat is from the historian, sends $2. Thank you for the super chat. Says, warning, sketch therapy is a false flagger. I don't know about that. I don't get involved in YouTube squabbles or anything like that. I know Sketch can be a passionate person, but I don't know about that. But thank you for the super chat. Scarfy the Strange says $5. When I hear if a hashtag change the world type campaign, I think he says is what they meant to say here, of a hashtag change the world type. I can't read today. Go ahead, Andre.
When I hear a hashtag change the world type campaign, I just think of Coney 2012 as covered by Internet Historian.
I'm not sure what that one is.
I think it was like someone trying to run for some office or something. I have to look it up. I vaguely remember it.
Now
but like all of these hashtag things, I generally tend to ignore them because I live my life well outside of the Twitter bubble.
So. Let me put it this way. I notice when something's not trending more than when it's trending usually. If I see like something trending in a hashtag and it gets my attention, it's usually because it's some older celebrity and I'm worried about them being dead. Like, that's about it. Like, yeah, other than that, I don't pay that much attention. Usually people tell me about this shit. So, Jay, I don't know if you want to comment on that at all.
No, you said everything.
Okay. Joe Pat 87 sends us $4.99, Andre.
He does. The woke crowd, what the French call les incompetents.
Yeah. If you don't know, that's from Home Alone. That's a joke. Yes. The classic. Now Disney classic, unfortunately.
Indeed.
Oh, man. Apple got... this is way off topic. They got
no, but it's... Yeah, I saw that, and I'm glad I got the 4K Blu-rays of those, actually.
I was like, they're not going to show the Peanuts holiday specials on regular TV
Well,
anymore.
CBS and ABC must have lost. I can't remember which one. I think it was CBS had the Peanuts deal for a long. They must have their license must have ran up on it.
I mean, I'll give the Apple credit. They said they're going to be available for free if anybody wants to watch them. Like, you don't need a subscription.
Well, that's good.
Apple TV. Yeah,
but I still got them on 4K Blu-ray. So
sure, yeah.
Are the Peanuts pretty big over there, Andre?
Snoopy,
pretty normal size.
Yeah.
Andre made a funny, folks. Somebody clip that. It's Charlie. I know you know enough because you knew when I said about the teacher, so I knew you had to get that joke at least.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no. Of course, our peanuts are imported from California, so they're the same size.
Well, okay, I'll rephrase this: are the Charlie Brown Peanuts gang popular enough over there?
Yeah, but if you say peanuts, no one knows.
It's kind of the same here.
Yeah, because we all know Snoopy. That's the kind of like the brand name that it goes by here. Like you say Charlie Brown, people have to like stop and think. You say peanuts, then they really have to stop and think for a long while before. Okay, that's what you mean.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah, see, here it's more usually referred to like Charlie Brown, sometimes Snoopy, but usually you say peanuts. You can tell the age of the fan by that one. So, yeah. Anyway, Pablo Papano, if I'm saying that right, sends in $5. Andre.
Yeah, it looks like it. Hollywood is banking on a Biden win to bail them out. They back themselves into a corner using COVID. If Biden wins, media will not report on COVID. Well, it's very clear who the media wants to win. And I will tell you this much coming from the world of finance. When you see all of the world of finance uniting behind Biden, it's because they want the same kind of bailouts that they got when they run the world into the ground in the 2008 financial crisis. You know what happened then? The people that run the world into the ground, the people that should have been locked up in jail, well, they got massive bailouts. And millions of people lost their jobs. Many had their lives ruined. But the people responsible, no, they got the severance package, or not the severance package, but they got like a rescue deal and millions bonus and thanks for it, courtesy of Biden and Obama. And they want that to happen again.
And I missed a super chat here, so you might want to double check, Andre, that I didn't miss any in between here, but because StreamYards goes through them pretty quick. Lady Toriel sent in $5 before the one we got on now and the one we just did. Hashtag vote for me vote. Thank you. Who are you again? Go away. Oh shit.
No, the one that we missed in between there was from Vince Manor, who sent us $5 saying, "You cannot explain away a wantonly immoral act because you think that is connected to some higher purpose." Jean-Luc Picard. Yeah. That's a great quote. That was obviously written and put into the mouth of Patrick Stewart by a far superior writer than him.
Yep. And I thought I missed some. Sorry about that, guys, but hopefully then we're all caught up to the one we got.
Yeah, no, we have a couple of more here.
I know we have a few more, but I wanted to make sure I got them all. So
no, we got everything.
And this one's from your brethren.
Yes, it is indeed. Paul from Norway sends 240 Norwegian krona asking, "Hey Andre, where do you live? If you live close to the Royal Palace in Oslo, goody. Can we meet and greet for a beer? Beer. Loads of beer is what's going on. P.S. DM me. I live within the general vicinity of the Royal Palace. Meet and greet? Yeah, maybe. We'll see. No promises. But we'll see. And
we're trying to get him to the U.S. at some point here. Jeez, can't even do
absolutely. That. But of course, as long as Paul buys the beer, then we can see about
there
that.
You go.
And Adam Wofford sent us $2 saying Coney was a warlord in Africa. I remember something about that. And Rama sent us 200 Indian rupees. It's the same in India. It's horrible to see my father's favorite franchises be destroyed. My pops introduced me to the franchise as a kid. I watched Terminator Dark Fate, and I had to tell my father to not watch it. Yeah, that's a pretty sad state, isn't
it? What a horrible piece of trash movie that was.
Yeah, that was. It's such a waste because tonally it was right, but in every other way, so bad. And Sketch Therapy is the final one that I've got so far. Sent us $5, and he had an accusation launched against him earlier. So he responds, "The people super chatting about me everywhere hate me because I love Anna, and they have always hated me for that. They want Comicsgate apart from Fandom Menace."
Civil War. He sends in another one here. "I want Comicsgate and Phantom Menace to buy Drunk's book." Well, that's a good plug for Drunk's book.
Absolutely.
There you go. And speaking of which, I'll throw that link in once again in the chat here for the email deal. But yeah, we did have another one come in here as well. There you go. And we love Anna too. Anna's a very good friend of ours.
So absolutely.
We've actually had her on as a guest already on the morning show.
Yeah, we did. She was one of our earlier ones. So absolutely. And Latino Slant sent us $2 saying, "Wah, wah, wah. Any peanut adult."
I missed that one. Where's that one? Oh, there it is.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just I knew he had to know what the peanuts were because the other day I made a joke about the MODOK video. I'm like, to me, this whole video is just wah 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 wah. Because I know nothing about MODOK other than he's this big-headed, fucking freaky looking thing. That's about it. And then that was the other one. There was the Discworld one was another one. I think I said something similar to that too.
And something similar when we did the James Bond one, and certainly when we did the first major Conan retrospective.
Well, I got a crash course pretty quick on Conan. So
that you did, but it was a rough learning curve there for a while.
Well, that's not it just never was on my radar. I don't know why my parents, maybe other than just the violence, they just never made the connection. Like, oh, this kid likes He-Man, he might like Conan. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Chris Coran sends in $5.
Yes, and he says, this was a fantastic and intelligence-driven live stream. Glad to have been here today. And Sketch Therapy sent another $2 saying, I also love you guys. Oh, thank you. And Cash Kester sent us $2 saying, hail intoxicated R2D2. Oh, it's a nice one.
Hail. That's what Mahler calls me.
Yeah.
Intoxicated.
I think he called you intoxicated 3PO. But
yeah,
that's
what it was.
On the last Friday Night Tights, I think I added the R2D2 part. But,
yeah. Guys, before we round out, we have one final bit of news.
Real quick.
Real quickly. I just want your quick reactions to it. Tom, take it away.
Well, actually, I knew about this for a while now. And in fact, I mean, it's no real big secret that I got to hang out with Clint Howard just over a year ago. And he was telling us about this already then. He's like, oh, yeah, next thing he's going to do is a Willow's thing. You know, so like I knew this was coming. I guess my big question from here on out is Val Kilmer coming back? Who else is coming back? I do know it's supposed to be a direct sequel, even though it's a series. We do now have a director, and it's officially a go, I guess. I'm a big fan of the original. I don't think you are so much, Andre, from what I gathered before. But
I have never seen the original.
Really?
So, yeah.
Wow, you need to do yourself a favor.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
What about you, Jay? Are you a big fan of Willow?
I loved Willow. Mad Mardigan is the greatest character ever created. I thought he was Val Kilmer was amazing. Mad Mardigan, that whole story was absolutely amazing. But Mad Mardigan was his character arc and story in there is fantastic. I mean, started as a prisoner, got rolled down a mountain by a giant snowball. I loved Mad Mardigan in there. I don't know what are they going to do with a sequel? Like what is that going to be about? But Willow, if you haven't seen Willow, it is a fantastic adventure film. You could definitely see George Lucas did that one, right?
The original, yeah.
He was involved in some capacity at least.
Yeah, he was a producer and one of the writers, I believe. Yeah,
you could definitely see a George Lucas thumbprint on that film. So,
yeah. Well, Warwick Davis will be back for sure. That I know. It says here.
Really?
Yeah, and that I knew from the start. My question was whether or not they were going to get Val back because his health was poor. But
he's gonna be in Top Gun, I hear, real quick. But
yeah, so that's where I'm thinking he might be back. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry,
I read somewhere they're using his throat, like they're gonna add a scar to his throat, like in Top Gun, because he's dealing with throat cancer.
Yeah, but I guess his voice has gotten a bit better too, though, from what I've heard.
Okay.
So I don't know. I know in the one movie he was in recently, they dubbed his voice.
Interesting.
But, yeah, they dubbed him in The Snowman as well. I actually saw him on set there. He was
that's the one. Yep.
He did not look good,
but I guess he's doing a lot better than he was. But now you've upset Paul, Andre.
Did I? What does Paul say?
He says on, which I'm thinking is no.
No, I think he says on, as in like the meetup is on. Or something.
Okay, maybe. That or he was mad you didn't see Willow. Rhetorical thrill, sends in $4.99. Please God, don't let the Willow show be based on these god awful sequel books. Yeah, I hope not. From what I heard, and this isn't coming from any source whatsoever, as far as like Clint or anything like that. But from what I heard, the story is going to be about Elora Danon's grown now. She's the new sorceress or whatever, and there's an evil witch that's rising. So her and Willow have to face off against this new foe, which Elora was the baby in the original film, but now she's full grown and I'm sure she's learning magic from Willow. And I'm assuming at this point the other sorceress would be dead. The older
the ending was so. I'm not gonna give it away because Andre, but the ending was so good.
Well, the movie's good, and like I brought up to Andre, it's not like the movie flopped or anything. It made good money, but I think what happened was because this is one of the first films to use. This was the first film to use morphing technology, and once he realized that kind of thing was happening, I think that's where his attention went from doing anything Willow related to let me get working on the Star Wars special editions kind of thing. I think his attention's kind of changed because this did make pretty good money in the box office. It wasn't like a flop or anything.
It was a great film. I saw it like 3 times.
I mean, evidently it wasn't a very big film over in Norway, but
Yeah, no, because I have nothing against it. I just haven't seen it. Like it's been on TV
And listen,
a
it's
couple
got
times, but I never made an effort to see it. That's really all there's
it's
to
got
it.
strong, powerful women in it. It's got it's got everything.
It's one you could probably. Well, I don't know about the younger kids. I'm gonna say you could probably. Because what would you say, Jay? What 5 or 6 is probably old enough. So maybe you couldn't watch it with the kids per se.
Oh, yeah, it's clean, man. It's a clean.
It's clean,
film.
but
Like,
there's some scary bits in it.
Scary is the only
They have
thing.
to, yeah,
I mean,
there's another funny comment here. Slots says at Paul from Norway. André er din far. That means Andre is your father. No,
That can't be. That's impossible.
Oh yeah, but now, Paul, I'm sure we can arrange.
But Brett Cohen sent in, I believe that's Australian $10. Meow, something for the kitty, for my kitty or one of Andre's. I don't know if Andre even has a kitty.
I don't. Neighbor has a kitty, but I think
I do.
Yours.
He must. I think he moved. He was sleeping in one spot all night. Now he moved.
something for the kitty.
That's right. I put him in
like
his
a
room.
bank account, buddy. That's.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah, that's true. I forgot. I didn't even think about that. Vince Manor sends in $5. I've been a subscriber since you guys had 2K subs. Really appreciate the content, fresh perspective, and intelligent conversation you guys have. Wow, that is insane.
That's back from the Fan4 Stick days.
Wow. Because that's even technically before I found the channel.
Yeah, no, that's.
I found the channel between Fan4 Stick and Ghostbusters. Yeah.
No, that would have been shortly after we released our major Fantastic 4 video, the one going through all the rumors and doing the summary on it. I remember specifically that because because at the time we had like less than 100 subscribers, and we put that one up. I was like thinking, I'm going to be able to see the marker cross to 100. That's going to be awesome. And then I put the video up and waited a couple of hours. Actually, it was Kevin that put the video up at the time. And then I was just going to go and check in. I was like thinking, will I be able to see it cross the 100? That's going to be awesome. And I was like, what the hell is this? Like 350? This does not compute. Then it crossed like 1,000 a day or something after. And 2,000 the day after that. So that was pretty awesome.
We got another super chat here real quick.
Oh, it's from who sends us $2 saying love meat in the AM.
Well, we love having you here. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to this. John Chu, I'm not so keen on. I'm not so keen on one of the writers they got involved too, because it's what's-his-face Kasdan, I believe, who was working on Solo. But Ron Howard's still involved. Frankly, I'm kind of like at that, like, I hope it's good, but I'm prepared for it to be fucking horrible. Jay?
For Willow sequel?
Yeah. Just your quick, like, are you looking forward to it, or what do you think?
It's just coming to Disney Plus. Disney, I'll probably watch it. I'm not like, head over heels. Like right now, it's hard to get excited about any movies coming out because they're just not good anymore. I was excited for Mulan. I will have to say, when I first heard about it, because I like the cartoon. Right. I like this story. Like, and then I haven't seen it yet, but it came out and everyone says it sucks. So I'm just like, yep, there you go. So that's where my expectations are with Disney stuff.
All right, and Andre, you got homework.
Yeah, I got homework to do. I'm going to answer like.
I think you're going to like it.
Yeah, I saw Gumbaroo saying in the chat there that he was asking if Paul Bunyan is Norse or Finnish. Now, I do not know my Finnish mythology, but as for Norse mythology, I think that Paul Bunyan has a lot of similarities with Mumle Gåsegg, which we have in our mythology. So I do believe that there is some kind of transferal going on there. So there's definitely a Norse link between Paul Bunyan and, Norse mythology. And then we got another super chat from Adam Wofford saying, you guys and world-class bullchatters, Doomcock, Nerdrotic on the channel, awesome ship was sinking, and just before the Sony hack.
Awesome.
Awesome.
I know you've been around for a while, Adam, because I I think you were there early on for Mead too. So yeah, speaking of which, if you guys haven't checked out Mead yet, check it out. Check out Drunk3PO's channel. The link is in the description along with Park Hoppin' as well.
Thank
Do
you.
check out that channel as well. And we want to thank you for hopping in today, Jay. It was a lot of fun talking to you.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure. Hope we can have you on again sometime. You're always welcome.
Thank you. I really
I'm sure we'll
appreciate
work it out for real soon. I'm already starting to fill up my next month slots. So we got a lot of great guests coming. So hopefully, again, we'll have Jay soon. So do check out his channel, and I'll throw that link up for your book as well real quick.
Thank you.
Anything else, Andre, before we go?
No, I would just like to thank you again, Drunk3PO, for joining us. It's always a pleasure. And also thanks to every single one in the chat. Did you guys ever talk about Discovery getting a season 4? Yes, we did. And we will do so again in an upcoming video.
Of course.
So we'll come back for that.
And Liam Neeson's chin's actually watching the film right now. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, everybody, and we'll see you on Friday.